You've got a great idea for a small business, but you just can't get it off the ground. You want to be your own boss, set your own hours. Well, new year means new opportunities, and Shopify's got you covered to help get your venture off the ground. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. And they help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard. Don't kick yourself next holiday season when your 2025 resolution list looks the same as it does today. Make it happen with Shopify. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/income.
This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
It's Throwback Thursday.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Throwback Thursday here at DeMakes a podcast. This week, we're going to throw it back to July of 2021 when Brendan Kelly of the Lawrence Arms sat in for an episode. I remember getting so much great feedback about this one, as Brendan is not only a great songwriter, but also a really funny and interesting guy as well. If you haven't heard this one before, you're in for a treat. And if you have heard this one before, you're going to enjoy it again, I promise. As usual, if you love DeMakes a podcast, don't forget to check out our Patreon at DeMakes.com. If you sign up, you'll instantly get access to hundreds of bonus episodes, and there are different levels if you want even more stuff. It's all over there at DeMakes.com, and as you probably already know, your support is what allows us to continue making this show. We depend on it, so thanks. Okay, here you go. From July 25th of 2021, this is episode 61 of DeMakes a podcast. Brendan Kelly discusses the Lawrence Arms, the YMCA down the street from the clinic.
Hey rockers, today's guest is my old pal Brendan Kelly, bassist and lead vocalist for the Chicago, Illinois punk rock band, the Lawrence Arms. Brendan and I break down the YMCA down the street from the clinic, taken from their 2014 Epitaph Records album, Metropole. We talk about the good old days when we first met back in the 90s, when he was the frontman for Chicago ska punk legend Slapstick, and how that band has spawned a number of other notable bands due to the immense talent that each of those band members possess. He takes me line by line through the song, in a way no other guest has on the show so far. Just when I think I can't be any more intrigued by an artist's inspiration for a particular song, Brendan comes along and shatters that notion. What does the YMCA, a methadone clinic, Banksy, the Titanic, Vertigo, Flo Rida, and a mouthful of rotten teeth all have in common? Well, you're just going to have to stick around to find out. For all this and a whole bunch of other laughs, don't touch that dial.
Hey, have you heard? DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? DeMakes a podcast.
Brendan!
Hi!
We were just talking off audio here that we've known each other for almost 30 years. And that sounds ridiculous to say.
Yeah, but the other day I was at my kid's baseball game and this dad looks at me and goes, "Yeah, you're like my age. You're at 50, right?" I was like, "What?"
You want to get punched in the face?
I was like, "Oh, but I guess I'm 44. It's not like I'm way off of being 50." It's just it was just a little unnerving. I it's my first mistaken for half a century years old. So
no, it's great. Yeah, I want to give the listeners just a little bit of history here. So I've known Brendan since 1994. I talked about this on the episode with Dan Andriano. We had Dan on a couple months ago, and I was in Gainesville, Florida, and I got this cassette tape, this demo of this band called Slapstick, and I was just like, man, they're like less than Jake, but they're more punk. I like this better. I loved you guys. I thought it was awesome, and I'm like, who the hell are these guys? And back then you hope for a phone number and a cassette or a
Yep.
snail mail address, and somehow we got a hold of each other, and we ended up doing shows, and it's so funny. Less Than Jake continued all these years. I'm still doing it. I can't imagine, though, and I've heard you talk about this in interviews, it's a little weird and strange for you guys to talk about that time, because that was what you guys kind of think is like, that's when we were kids. That was just our first band. But the impact that you guys had on the ska punk scene, I mean, you guys were as good or better than any of the bands that were doing it. And the talent that came out of that band, as I said in Dan's episode, Pete Anna on trombone ended up playing with Less Than Jake. You had, of course, Dan Andriano went on to Alkaline Trio. You have been, in a ton of different projects. You went to the Broadways, of course, Lawrence Arms, which we're going to be talking about Lawrence Arms songs today. The Falcon, Brendan Kelly and the Wandering Birds. You've done solo stuff. Of course, in the Broadways, you also had Dan Hanaway, who played in Slapstick. So just a wealth of talent that came out of that band. And, I'm just, I'm super stoked that you're still out there doing it.
Well, man, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words. That's really nice. And gosh, the podcast must have really fallen off if you're to me now from Dan. I mean, Dan's famous, but
no, and I got to stop you there. I had you on for a number of reasons, but one, you're one of the funniest sons of bitches I've ever met in this bit, ever met in general. If you haven't checked out Brendan's Twitter feed, I believe it's Nihilist Arby's is your handle.
Nihilist Arby's is one of them, and then Bad Sandwich
and
is
of
my
course
personal
Bad
one.
Sandwich Chronicles, and unreal banter and wit coming from you. But
I think what's so funny, though, I'm sorry, I don't mean to
No, not
interrupt,
at all.
but like you just listed through like all the amazing talent in Slapstick, and I agree, it was really lightning in a bottle. I mean, like I think that like everybody in that band, with the exception of me, was a real virtuoso, and I'm just like a song and dance man, and I'm fine with that. Like, and that's what I brought to the table, and that's what they needed for that band, But like the two people you left out were Robbie and Matt, who are the two most talented guys in that band by far.
And I should give a shout out, and I did in Dan's episode. You're right, to Robbie, who's just an amazing drummer, and Matt Stamps, amazing guitar player, who both went on to play music again. Matt played in Tuesday with Danny, and so yeah, not to leave them out at all. But something I want to say to you, I've never said this, and we ran into each other I don't know how many times over the years, and every time I see Brendan, we just pick up right where we left off. It's always a barrel of laughs, but it's funny. We as musicians, artists, whatever, sometimes we kind of diminish how good we actually are. And I haven't met too many guys in this business that have true rock star egos that are like completely off the mark. Most of us are pretty humble. You're kind of like I am. You're very self-deprecating at times and whatnot, and that's refreshing. But at the same time, I never saw a frontman, especially back in the days of Slapstick. You were just this wire. If you turned sideways, you couldn't see Brennan. He was just this wiry, skinny kid, and just this snotty. Just you commanded a stage. And the listeners have heard me talk about Craig Aronson, who signed Less Than Jake to Capitol and Warner Brothers, and it was late 90s, maybe around 2000, and Craig had said to me, you know this guy Brendan Kelly? I said, of course. I gave him the rundown, Slapstick, and Craig looked at me and said, that kid's a star. And I knew what he meant. I really did, man. You have that quality. I know that's hard to hear, bro to bro, but man, you have that thing, man. You're charismatic as hell, and you got something. And a lot of our listeners here have asked about you. That's why you're sitting in the hot seat right now. So
I can only thank you for the kind words. Thank Craig, R.I.P. And
yeah, man.
And thank your listeners for hyping me to you, so I could be here, because it's a real pleasure, man. And I appreciate it. I appreciate all that stuff, man. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, no, we did this thing in our Facebook group of asking what artists we want to be on there, and your name just kept popping up, and I just knew it would be a good chat. And the Lawrence Arms, to give a little more history here, you guys have released 7 full-length albums from 1999 to 2020. The first record you did was a guided tour of Chicago in 99, and your most recent record is 2020's Skeleton Coast. You guys have been on labels from Asian Man to Fat Wreck to Epitaph, and there's also a little more history here. So, of course, Neil Hennessy plays drums in Lawrence Arms, as well as Chris McCowan, and Chris played with you in the Broadways.
That's correct. Yeah, and Neil plays with me in the Falcon.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I am like really like mate for life type. Like my best friends are all my friends from when we were kids. You know what I mean? And it's like when I get into a project with somebody, like I've always said, Neil is like my musical life partner. He's always said to me, he's like, whatever you do, I will do. And I've always said, you're the best drummer in the fucking world. Of course. Yeah. You're always welcome to be a part of anything I do, because you're literally the best at that instrument of anyone I've ever seen. And I love you, you know?
Well, and that's why I'm giving all this history, and it's getting very incestuous right now. Everyone's played with everybody. This is really crazy though. And that's testament. A lot of this is just to how tight knit that Chicago scene is and how much talent is bred there. And Neil, of course, the song we're going to talk about today, the YMCA Down the Street from the Clinic, is taken from your 6 full-length Metropole, which was produced by Matt Allison in 2008.
Yep.
Less Than Jake recorded at Atlas Studios in Chicago for our GNV FLA record with Matt Allison, and Neil was the second engineer on that project. So Neil is, like Brendan said, an amazing drummer. The guy's off the hook. The wealth of talent just surrounding all of you guys, and the fact that, you know, most of the people that I mentioned today are still out there doing it in some capacity or another is just testament to how great you guys are.
That's nice. But the thing is, we are not the scene. We are just like one group of friends. You know, all the Slapstick guys, the Alkaline Trio guys, and the Rise Against guys. We are one very insular group of friends. Like there's a very like vast and righteous scene out there that was out there then, and then, you know, out there now, and it really had almost nothing to do with us, but we just happened to kind of come in and take over like Vikings or something like that.
Yeah.
But
one of my favorite places, one of the first places to ever embrace my band out of Florida was Chicago. Just the scene there is always been killer. You can't even try to describe it to somebody like, what was it like back in the day? Where would you even begin to describe Chicago in the 90s? It was absolutely incredible. It was just a breathing machine of just fun and talent and everything else in between. This track, the YMCA Down the Street from the Clinic, we're going to jump in here. Do you remember where you were at when you wrote it? I've read some stuff online that you were in Italy when you wrote this track.
Well, no, I wasn't in Italy when I wrote this song. I was in Italy when the record was over, and I was trying to figure out what we should call the record. And I was staying at a hotel called the Metropole, and I like, kind of looked up and I was like, that's a dope name. And it's like the whole record has this like, sort of like anonymous city, international, but could be very local, could be very specific, but it's still very general vibe to it. Like the whole idea behind the record, I'm sorry to digress. I know this is not exactly what you're asking, but the whole idea behind the Metropole album is that like, there's nothing lonelier than being in a city, right? Like if you could be isolated in like a sort of like parochial Vermont farm or whatever, but that's like sort of like, hey man, you know, I'm out here kicking it. But if you're alone in a city, you're very alone because there's people everywhere and they're just not for you or you're not for them.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And so that's sort of the vibe that the entire record sort of like works with. This song really, I think, sums up that notion. It's a song about isolation and loneliness. I mean, the whole record is about that.
Yeah.
But, I don't remember where I actually was when I wrote this song, but I'm almost positive I was at my house.
And do you keep like journals that you write in and you use them, you pick them later for songs, or do you sit down and say, you know, I got this title in my head and I'm going to write the song, and then you just put pen to paper?
Well, no. So what I do is when I'm writing, I try to write every day a lot. I usually use journals. Sometimes lately I've been using a computer because I lost my fucking journal and it's driving me crazy. And I'm like, I can't do this on a fucking computer. This is not how I've done it for, you know, I'm an old man, goddammit. I'm almost 50.
You can't teach Brendan Kelly new tricks.
No, that's absolutely true.
Not the way it works.
But so what I do is I wake up. Usually if I'm like writing for a record, I'll know what the project is. And I will wake up and I'll be like, all right, I'm writing a Lawrence Arms record. I'm writing a Falcon record. I'm writing a Wandering Birds record. I wake up before I even brush my teeth, 1 page of lyrics handwritten in a notebook, right? Go brush my teeth. I'll come back, another page of lyrics. And I'll do that probably over the course of the day. It becomes a little obsessive, like 10 times. And I'll have 10 pages by the end of the first day. And then at any point, I might pick up a guitar and try to play through all of them. But I have a notion. You know, I was listening to this interview, and I think I remember it as being Billy Joe from Green Day, but I don't know who it actually was. And it was like, somebody was like, well, what about this song? Like, let's say it was When I Come Around. I don't know, I don't remember what the specifics were. And he's like, oh, you know what? That song just came out right away. Like, it was like, as soon as I started playing the guitar, I had the whole song written, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's the same thing that everybody says about their best songs. So fuck this. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to write so much that I get an album full of those songs.
Yeah.
That came out right away.
That's a running theme on this podcast, man. Some of the biggest songs were written in 5 minutes. You're like, what? You know?
Yeah, but it's like I haven't spent more than 5 minutes on a song in 20 years. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like it just like at a certain point, I was like, if those are the best songs, why would I work harder for something that's worse? It's just like throw it away. You know, it's like when people are like, finish your plates. And somebody said to me one time, it's like, never tell your kid to finish their plate. That's like just telling them to throw away the food in their body instead of in the garbage.
You're a garbage disposal.
Yeah. So it's like if you got a song and you're like, oh God, how do I make this work? It's like, nope, crumple, next song, just start writing again. And anything that's in there that was good will be in your residual memory if you're worth a shit at all, and it'll come back.
Yeah, I wish I had that tenacity. There's days that I don't want to write, and I try to force myself. You know, there's days I don't want to pick up the guitar that day, and that's okay. But I wish I had a little bit more drive in that department, because I know that people that you don't really realize it, but you're working on your craft every day. Every time you write down something or type into the computer that you have to do now. But what I love about this song, and I want to jump into it, I love, and I've always loved your lyrics. And when I was researching this song, I looked at live performances, you acoustic, the full band live, of course the album track, and I started reading comments on YouTube and some other places. And this song in particular, a lot of your songs do, but this one hits people hard, man. Like, they just relate to this one. And there's the poetry and the imagery that goes on in this tune. There's a lot of stuff here, and I'm really, really excited to jump into it. There's a 10-second intro. It's a pretty simple. Neil's just doing this kind of hi-hat thing. Just a really killer, rich bass tone that you got. And there's this cool little guitar lead that's brought back later in the song, kind of as a running theme. And then the band jumps in, and there's just this guitar chord that rings out.
Click on the link for the world's biggest dick. You can smell the rats dying as the ship starts to sink. Down beneath the pour are embraces and tears. Up against the bars, staring down their years. You told me to kiss you.
I'm gonna jump in the lyrics here, and I'll do the first verse, and I'm gonna have you break it down for us.
I you know what? I'm so excited to hear you read this opening line. Really.
Well, you know what else is funny is that you don't know how many times, and it's weird now that I think about it. Now I'm in my head about it. How many times the guests have been like, it's so weird to have hear my lyrics read back to me, you know? So bear with me.
Oh, no. Yeah. I know. I just think specifically this particular opening line is really funny.
Verse 3 has a line too, if you remember. It's going to be really funny to read. All right, here we go. Click on the link for the world's biggest dick. You can smell the rats are dying as the ship starts to sink. Down beneath the pour are embracers and tears. Up against the bar, staring down their years. You told me to kiss you because we were at the end, and I said I wouldn't miss you because, baby, I'd be dead. And that's the only way it seems that I could get away. Otherwise, I'm nothing without you, babe. And then you give out this little, oh. And before you break it down, I have just one little note here I want to talk about. I really love whatever, and I'm assuming Matt Allison mixed the record. Mm-hmm. Did he mix it? Okay. There's a really cool vocal treatment. It's like this slap delay that just is really cool. And there's also a twang in your voice in this song, almost like a little bit of a drawl. And when I wrote that down, I started thinking of this tune. The song kind of reminds me like it'd be in a bar scene of a spaghetti western.
That's an awesome compliment.
Yeah, there's something about this tune that just kind of gives me that feeling, but yet it's still, I wrote in the notes, it's still undeniably Chicago, man. I could just smell and feel the Chicago. So set up this first verse for us. What's going on here?
Thematically, in a macro sense, First of all, I mean, like, this is just me essentially talking, like the way I sing this song. It's like my voice right now is like almost exactly the same. Click on the link, it's like exactly.
Kind of, but you got a swagger in this one, man. Like I said, it's got that a little bit of, I don't want to say Southern drawl. It's got something going on here.
Yeah, but so anyway, the idea is like sort of careening towards oblivion a little bit, right? So click on the link for the world's biggest dick is sort of obviously we've all gotten these emails about like either enlarging your penis or seeing large penises or whatever, penis. Here's like some like, Russian bot farm trying to get you to click on something. And so it's just sort of a metaphor for disaster, right? At first.
That's hilarious because I took that first line as click on the link for you're the world's biggest dick. Click on the link for me. Here I am. And now I get it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's much stupider than that.
Yeah, that's great.
And then you could smell the. This is a dirty little secret, Chris. I don't really like to talk about this very much, but the rest of this verse is pretty much about the movie Titanic. Because that is the metaphor for man's hubris getting the best of them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I wanted to start it out with like internet culture at large. You could smell the rats dying as the ship starts to sink. Down beneath the poor are embraces and tears. And you misread it. It's up against the bars. Remember, they lock the people in the lower levels down beneath in order so they don't get to the lifeboats before the rich people.
So
those they're up against the bars,
yeah,
staring down their years, right? Like looking like their life flashes.
Yeah, that's cool,
right? And it's like, and that was the first thing. Is like you saw the rats like trying to run overboard, and that was when they were like,
yeah,
yo. I mean, I don't know. This is more from history books than from the fucking movie, so I apologize if I'm not like nailing James Cameron's vision of it, but I seem to recall that his movie was really good, but and then you told me to kiss you because we were at the end is obviously like that is from the movie Titanic.
Yeah,
like, and then I said I wouldn't miss you because baby I'd be dead is like my own like nihilist quality. That like me coming into the movie all of a sudden and being like, nah, bitch, I'm I'm just gonna die. It's fine. and then, because that's the only way this won't break my heart. Like if you don't live, if I fucking survive and I don't never see you again, like I have to be dead because I am nothing without you.
Man, you're kind of blowing me away right now because I would have never taken that away from this. Number one, number two.
Well, that means it's terrible.
No, it actually doesn't. For me, what I love about this and what I love doing about doing this podcast, and I'm over a year into this now, Brendan, I have learned so much. And not from an envious or jealous point, but I admire someone that can write from that, like how you put those two worlds together and you wrote something as cool as this, man. It's awesome. It's really inspiring to me. I love songwriting, and just to hear that you were able to, go from this internet thing to click on the link to, yeah, but it's kind of about Titanic, but then I put my own nihilist spin on it, and how that all came together is really cool.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of this song. It's funny because I didn't want to put it on the record, and we were with my photographer to the stars, Ben Peer, and he was staying at my house, and I was playing him the record, and then like there was another song slotted into this space. Then I played him this one. I go, this one's not going to go on the record, but I really like it. And he goes, that's not going on the record? Fuck you. This should be the whole record. Just play this song fucking 14 times. That should be the record.
Well, and I'm glad you said something because it reminded me. So did you know when this song was like finished and you did it, and even like, your buddy telling you like this song should be on the record, did you think there was something special here? And did you know that it was going to resonate and become such a fan favorite? This is one of your most popular songs. And the reason I asked that, this song was buried track 9 on the record. Typically you don't put the hit that late on the track listing.
Well, first of all, Chris, I know that you know what I'm talking about when I say I don't believe that Spotify numbers are even remotely accurate. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I'm sure that those songs have the right number of plays, but there's other songs that have more plays that are like not displayed up in like your top 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I know what happens when we play certain songs live And it's like, it's a lot more than when we play our top 5 songs on Spotify Live, you know? And so I think there's a bit of some shoe shine sales going on there with that, whatever.
Well, and I'm also basing this off not just those numbers or YouTube plays, but I'm basing it off of when I go and I do check out a number of live videos, and because a lot of times I notice the artist will do the song live in a different key or something, and I always like to pick up on that and ask. And I'm just going by audience reaction when you guys play.
Yeah, this one. Okay, so
it's amazing.
Yeah. That being said, this one is, I would say it's like a real phenomenon within our work in terms of like, it's the Lawrence Arms of the Lawrence Arms. Like, there's no reason that it should have worked out, and it became incredibly popular.
That makes it exact sense. And something I want to talk about before we go any further, there's 3 verses in this song. All 3 verses all start out with just a guitar chord. And then on the 3rd line, the guitar chord happens again, but there's this cool arpeggio part.
Miss you, 'cause baby, I'd be dead, and that's the only way it seemed that I could get away otherwise.
That guitar chord with the arpeggio, that happens all 3 verses. I like the consistency in that. I think it's cool. It's very sparse. The guitars aren't getting in the way of of the story here. And again, that's why I think it works so well. I noticed that there's only one harmony in this verse. And it's more of a like an octave thing. It's not so much a harmony, just on staring down their years. Do you remember if Matt Allison pushed you to do that? And the guys in the band did that? And is that you backing yourself up, or is that Neil or Chris?
That's Chris. And it's funny because I always want Chris to sing pretty much every word with me. You know, that's what I love the most, is like singing in sort of unison or harmony, whatever it is.
There's a little bit of both going on. Like, he's like unison at points, but there is little harmonies. It's cool.
You know, he's been pulling away from doing that. And in this song particularly, this is one of a couple of songs on the Metropole album where we kind of do employ that like spaghetti Western kind of feel to this. And that was like kind of conscious, but it kind of also just happened organically. And what was interesting was, because Chris has got like the prettier voice and I've got like the, I don't know, disgusting voice or whatever.
The raspier voice.
Yeah, we've always, whenever we've done like sort of duet covers or something like that, it's like I've always sung the low parts and he sung the high parts. And then we realized, oh no, Chris's voice is the low one and I'm the one who hits the super high notes.
Yeah.
You know, and it took us this long. It took us 20 years into the band to figure that out. And so when he was like, when he was doing that line specifically goes, dude, I'm going to go for this. And I think I'm going to go below you. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes fucking perfect sense. I mean, like I'm too stupid to like come up with anything on my own. But like, as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, right. Yes.
No, I love it. And I want to backtrack and say that there is one more line. The last line is, otherwise I'm nothing without you, babe. Chris is singing there with you.
I could get away, otherwise I'm nothing without you, babe. Oh.
And then you do this kind of, oh. And was that O thing always there, or was that just something you were scatting, we call it in the studio, and it just happened? But it happens other places in the song, and I love it because it makes it feel like you're just talking, Matt. Like you said, you're almost talking the song, like it's a matter of like, oh.
So that is sort of a thing of mine, like on multiple records for a lot, like since I would say Greatest Story Ever Told, O Calcutta, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then Metropole. And Skeleton Coast. That's like sort of like a signature thing that I do.
But in this song, it really works because it just lends something to this vocal and to this lyric. I don't know. It feels like your storytelling is like, oh, yeah, and I'm going to go on to the next thing I'm talking about. It's cool. Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with the Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, this is Steve Choi, host of the Musicians Guild podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media podcast network. Within the 4 walls of the Musicians Guild, we'll be discussing the habits, idiosyncrasies, experiences, and general psychology of my friends and peers, all involved with music in various capacities. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Pandolfi inviting you to check out the new season of my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, with new episodes airing now.
Hearing it in that room, these guys playing this thing and trying to figure out how to play this song was mind-blowing. It's so inspiring to know there's so much more to it than you ever thought. And it just opened another door.
But when people find faith because they need to, in terms of just filling a void to feel better without actually being better, that's when it becomes a crutch, much like, drugs and alcohol do.
Man, I don't have all the time in the world here. If I want to be a professional bluegrass musician, I felt like I had to take a very strategic approach, just trying to get rid of the barriers and figure out what those barriers were.
The feelings still come and I have to reckon with that, but I think I have better ways of moving forward and not being stuck, which I think was the killer for me.
Catch all that and so much more on the new season of Inside the Musician's Brain.
The Helping Friendly podcast explores the music and fan experience of Phish through interviews and deep dives on shows and tours. For more than 10 years, we've created insightful and fun discussions about our favorite band, and with the help of our guests and thematic series, we're still discovering new angles of appreciation for Phish. And when the band is on tour, we provide a review of every show the following day. As one of our listeners said, any Phish fans that enjoy meandering conversations and incredible insight on new and old Phish shows, this is for you. Highly recommend. It's not just about the band and the shows, it's about the journey getting there. Throughout 2024, we're going to be running down the top 25 Phish tours of all time, and that'll be interspersed with show reviews and regular episodes. Join us and check out the Helping Friendly podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
We're already at this point at the 47-second mark, and we haven't hit a chorus. A lot of songs, you'll already hit a chorus at this point in the song. There's a musical break for 10 seconds, and then the full band is in following the same verse progression, and it has that same guitar. The third line has the guitar arpeggio thing. I'm going to read these lyrics out, and then I'm going to have you break these down. I got a bad, sick stink, and I'm bathing in the sink at the YMCA down the street from the clinic, and there's a sad old man with a sad, saggy ass, just crying under the electric dryer for your hands. and he's wet and he's dying, and the spiders on his nose seem to indicate that he's been keeping warm out in the cold. And he's a lot like me, I guess, but we're somehow not the same. They say you really die the last time anybody says your name. Oh. And a couple things before you break this one down. The second line, at the YMCA down the street from the clinic, that's the title of the song. And I'm going to ask you why in a second. There's harmonies on that line. There's harmonies on Electric Dryer for Your Hands. And he's a lot like me, I guess. And they say you really die the last time anybody says your name. So the song's building here. There's some more second vocals that are coming in there.
I got married at 16, and I'm bathing in the sink at the YMCA down the street from the clinic. And there's a sad old man, a sad saggy ass, just crying under the electric dryer for your hands. And he's wet and he's dying, and the spiders on his nose seem to indicate that he's been keeping warm out in the cold. And he's a lot like me, I guess. We're somehow not the same. They say you really died the last time anybody says your name.
Why that one line? Was that always the title of the song, or you named the song that after you wrote it?
I named the song after I wrote it, and cool. When that line came out, of me, I guess, I think the thought was, oh, people will pay attention to this song if that's the name of it. I mean, like, it's that or click on the link for the world's biggest dick, but I mean, like, what's
that's what it was called in Japan.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, it's like I just saw like some fucking comedian say this. It's like they say don't judge a book by its cover, which is fucking stupid, because that's why books have covers. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
And I'm guilty of what you said. I've done that before. I've been like, oh, that's one of the cooler lines in the song. I'm going to pick that to be the song title.
Okay, but that's not being guilty of anything. That's being smart. It's like Chris number 2 from Anti-Flag said this to me one time. He goes, if you are spending $30,000 on a video, why wouldn't you make it the best song on the record? Like, what are you, fucking stupid? like you think you're gonna build into it like Guns N' Roses does? Like, those days are gone, man.
Yeah. You got to go for the jugular. Yeah. What else is going on here? What's up with the sad old man with the sad saggy ass? He's crying on the electric dryer for your hands.
I used to work out at the YMCA. And I used to work down the street from this clinic, like a methadone clinic, and I sort of conflated the two ideas because, like, both places were full of very sad people.
in very different ways.
You know what? I don't think so. I think a lot of those dudes that lived in that YMCA also went to that clinic, and the idea of going in there, and it's like, there's a funny trope. And I think that that's something that, like, I was fucking with in this entire song, is there's a lot of humor in this, but even though it sounds so dire and serious, I mean, the opening line is click on the link for the world's biggest dick, like there's like a joviality that's like sort of baked into this, that, and it's sort of like the songwriting exercise is, man, if I can make this fucking sound serious as I'm talking about, like a man's old saggy ass and like world's biggest dicks and stuff like that, and whatever, then I've succeeded in, that would be the exception to prove the rule.
And the imagery here on this line in particular, and this is what I took away from it, and he's wet, talking about the old man, and he's wet and he's dying, and the spiders on his nose. A lot of older folks will get those, and alcoholics will get those like red little veins in their nose. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So this is
That's
like,
awesome.
this is about the alcoholic, like spider veins in your nose.
Yeah.
And that's what seems to indicate that he's been keeping warm out in the cold.
Yeah.
That's like sort of like the whole like Saint Bernard, like kind of thing.
Yeah,
where they find
bottle of whiskey's his electric blanket.
Yeah. And so that's why I get to, he's a lot like me, I guess. Because, it's like I'm at the YMCA, I'm watching this, there's the funny joke about like old dudes just hanging brain all day long in the fucking gym locker room, just like drying their balls off in the fucking hand dryer.
I got to stop you there. You're killing me because, a lot of folks have written in our Facebook group, and the listeners are like, Chris seems like he really likes all these songs. He can't possibly like every song. I really like this song. but I like it even more now. And that's happened with so many tracks that I have had in the show because I'm really learning about it. And like, it's so, I really thought this song was more serious. And I think that, I think it hits people. And knowing you're goofball. Like, I've known you forever, but there's an undertone here of that seriousness in your voice, the way the song is delivered, and it hits people. And now hearing about some of these lines and hearing you explain them, it's hilarious. But real quick before we move on, do you remember if Matt or any of the guys in the band, like, was this song pretty much arrangement wise how you had it laid out, or was there any changes going on up to this point? Or
no, this is how me and Chris and Neil, like, we arrange songs as a trio.
Okay.
You know,
great.
and it always has been like that. And it's very much like being like on a movie set. And it's like, well, you're the gaffer, so I trust you with the lights. You're the best boy, I trust you with the electricity.
Yeah,
you know, I'm the cinematographer, so you're going to trust me with that. And it's like, you know, you just have to kind of like let people play their roles. That's the way the Lawrence Arms works.
Awesome. Well, it comes back here now. Is the intro of the song comes back in with that haunting like guitar lead, and
you missed the whole thing though, the Banksy quote at the end.
That they say you really die the last time anybody says your name. That part.
Yeah, that's Banksy.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they say he said you die once when you die, and the second time you die for real is the last time anybody says your name. And I was like, that's just so fucking haunting. And I mean, this whole thing, you know, you said it's like, it's really funny and hilarious, but it's like the whole thing is supposed to be haunting also.
No, it is. And I even use that with here for the intro. The song comes back in with that haunting. I wrote haunting guitar lead because there's something about that lead. And then the band builds up and there's this just heavy kick drum that Neil's hitting and with some cool drum fills. And now you're into what I'm calling the first chorus. It's 1 minute and 47 seconds into the song. These exact lyrics happen again later. It's the only lyrics that happen twice in the song. That's why I'm calling it the chorus. This sweet and sticky dream was nothing that I needed. Just demons to believe, poisons lined up to feed 'em. And the rings inside this tree are rotten deeper down. God damn this fucking town. It's restless and I'm drowning.
This sweet and sticky dream was nothing that I needed. Just demons to believe, poisons lined up to feed 'em, and the rings inside this tree are rotten deeper down. God damn this fucking town, it's restless and I'm drowning.
Are you speaking of Chicago there or just in general?
Well, it's a universal take that I am personally applying to Chicago.
Yeah.
Basically. You know, sweet and sticky dream is nothing that I needed. I mean, that's liquor, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and just like the sort of like fugue state that you go through is like some sort of drunk. Demons to believe, that's your friends or your own demons in your head. And the poisons lined up to feed them is, you know, this is just like a expansion on that first line theme. But the rings inside this tree are rotten deeper down. That is a Vertigo reference. When you remember in Vertigo, and they're looking at the gigantic redwood that's cut sideways, and she's like, here I was born and here I died, you know, and it was all the rings of the tree in there.
Somewhere in here I was born, and there I died. It was only a moment for you. You took no notice.
So, and you know, and they had like kind of like little sticky notes on the tree, and it was like, you know, the fall of the Roman Empire and shit like that. That was like, and it was just like to give this like expansive, crazy, a really concise view of your tiny, minuscule place in the universe or whatever. Even on Earth. You know, even in our timeline, even in the timeline of trees that are still alive now, you know, and it's just like the idea that I was like, the rings inside this tree are rotten deeper down. Like, yeah, if you cut me in half, it just gets worse, man. It's not good now. And then the funny thing is, Chris wrote a fucking song about that same scene in Vertigo for this record.
No kidding. Nah, man. This is really cool that you're going this deep in talking about all this, because I seem to write very linear when I'm writing lyrics. Like, this is what the song's about, and we've went off on some tangents here. This song's about a bunch of different things that influenced you, and it all came together as one song. And it's very intriguing to me. It's very cool. We're at the 2 minutes and 5 second mark now in the tune. There's like a guitar solo, a guitar lead here for like 8 seconds up to the 2:13 mark. And now we're into verse 3. I got these black rotten teeth cracking off in bloody beef. And I haven't seen the dentist in at least 6,000 weeks. And I'm high on this TV and these whiskeys and these dreams that I wouldn't dare to follow because I couldn't dare succeed. So I write down shitty words. So I sit in titty bars. So I text and tweet and look at nudes and beat off in the dark. Back when I was just a boy, these were okay ways to go. But baby, I got old. And somewhere I ditched my soul. Oh. And harmonies, double vocals on Because I Couldn't Dare Succeed. So I text and tweet and look at nudes and beat off in the dark. But baby, I got old.
I made Chris sing that one.
Yeah. Here, sing this one.
Dare to follow, 'cause I couldn't dare succeed. So I write down shitty words. So I sit in titty bars. So I text and tweet and look at nudes and beat off in the dark. Back when I was just...
That was the line I thought you were just going to talk about in the song that you thought it'd be funny for me to read. But
I mean, it's fun. It's funny for you to read that too. But.
Yeah, no. And then and Somewhere I Ditched My Soul, there's a double vocal on that. Again, this particular verse, what I do like about it is it's the same musically and the same feel as the other two. The music is almost secondary here to the storytelling that's going on. A lot of times it's the opposite. A lot of times it's a musical thing. It doesn't matter what the lyrics are about. It doesn't matter so much the melody. Here it's the complete opposite. This is a story that you're telling. And by this point in it, like, I'm reading it going, I need to talk to you now and find out what the hell is going on here. So set this one up.
Okay, well, the general thing here is that, like, I kind of thought that, it would start with, you click on the link for the world's biggest dick, and then we'll go into the sad old man with the sad, saggy ass, and you kind of like slowly heat up the pot for the lobster. You know what I mean? Without people noticing it. It's like it gets a little bit sadder and a little bit more dire. And then this verse, the idea was like, it's going to sound funny, but by now, nothing about this is funny at all. you know what I mean?
Yeah. This was fun for a while.
And it's like, but these are like the technically funniest lyrics, but it's like after you've listened to the first two verses, you go, I don't think I can laugh at this. It's really depressing. He means it. So I got the black rotten teeth cracking off in bloody beef. That is 100% designed to just make you so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a disturbing fucking image.
Bloody beef is your awful gum line. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the dentist in at least 6,000 weeks. I kind of regret the choice of 6,000 because I feel like that's like
600 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But
that means that gum line's looking rough, brother.
I was doing my math pretty fucking fast and loose because I write pretty. The song's got to take 5 minutes, Chris. We already talked about this.
I know.
so that's how it happened. And then how high on these TVs and these whiskeys and these dreams that I couldn't dare to follow because I wouldn't dare to follow because I couldn't dare to follow because I wouldn't dare succeed. Is like, that's the fucking main line of this song, right? Like that's the line that where I think if I'm listening to it as a consumer of the song, I'm going, fuck, I gotta go back to college.
Well, something after that line, I'll have you set the rest of this up for us, but I really like, and I found interesting, that next line that comes, it's the guitar chord without the arpeggio. It's just the chord, but it sounds like there's a tremolo on that one.
Back when I was just a boy, we were okay ways to go, but maybe I got old, somewhere I ditched my soul. Oh.
you know, almost like a whammy bar tremolo thing. Was that? Do you remember if that was done on purpose? It's really cool.
No, I don't remember like a super hyper conscious effort to do anything like that.
Maybe that's just the way Chris played it. Just happened that way.
Well, Chris is also like, you know, like Chris and I are both like very lyrically focused when it comes to like how we play for each other. Like I play my bass to his vocals, you know. He plays his guitar to my vocals, and we've been best friends since we were 10. We're both 44, you know. So it's like there's a certain point where it's like, yeah, no shit, you're doing that, right?
Yeah,
okay, boom.
You're finishing each other's sentences. Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Chris used to do that bit all the time. It's like, we're such good friends, we finish each other's sentences. And then he'd go, I don't know if we actually, and I'd be like, finish each other's sentences?
No, but you know that connection, though. When you've known someone that long, you're like, oh, you did this? Well, of course you did that. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Totally.
So what's up with, I write down shitty words. So I sit in titty bars. So I text and tweet and look at nudes and beat off in the dark. Like, is that autobiographical or
No, I do all that stuff.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. I mean, no, I absolutely do all that stuff. This is supposed to be the part where I'm the sad old man under the dryer. Like, this is where I'm naked, right?
That's what I took from this. I took that the tides have kind of turned on this verse.
I'll sit here and like walk through this anonymous Gotham and fucking, you know, kind of slowly recognize my humanity in other people that I find to be pathetic. But at the end of the day, it's me who's on the chopping block for myself, you know?
Right.
And it's like, this is what I do. And I think the next line is like really like prescient. I mean, you know, I shouldn't say that because it sounds really self-important, but like when I was just a boy, these were okay ways to go. It's like, you know, when you're a kid, you can just like, yeah, it's fine to like, just like fucking whack off and goof around on the internet or whatever, you know, go to titty bars. I mean, you're 21, fuck it. But now I'm old and I have no soul. So, and I'm still doing it. So,
well, after this, we come back into the intro again, but this time the bass, you're playing like chords. You're doing like octave things. And then like, also I notice here that I'm assuming it's you, you're whistling the guitar solo. The guitar riff, I say solo, the guitar riff at the top and earlier in the song, the lick, you're whistling. And I noticed when you play the song acoustic that you whistle that part. That's why I was pretty sure it was you doing here.
That's how it was written.
Why the whistle here and not the guitar lick there that time? It
was written as a whistle. And I was just like, this whole song was inspired by the song Whistle by Flo Rida.
You just put your lips together and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby? Whistle, baby. Here we go. Whistle, baby. Whistle, baby. Whistle, baby. Whistle, baby.
As if your explanation of this song couldn't get any weirder. Now we're talking about Flo Rida.
Yeah, well, you know.
This is killing me. This is great.
Hey, this is why you're famous, and I fucking write a blog for a living.
Just because I get recognized at Target twice every year doesn't mean I'm famous.
But yeah. So this was inspired by that Flo Rida song, and so when I wrote it, that whistle part was what you've referred to as the haunting guitar part every time.
Yeah.
And then there's a point. I mean, I remember the first time I played this, before I even knew if I wanted it to be a Lawrence Armstrong, because it's a little bit weird for a Lawrence Armstrong, but where people were like, when you started playing this and you started whistling, I was like, fuck this. And by the end, I was like, I love that song. So that's really nice. You know, people were.
Isn't it weird how sometimes a hook's so annoying that eventually you love it? And you don't know why. That's cool.
So it was just my theory that the heart of the song was the whistle. Like that's what made me want to write the song, was the whistle from the song Whistle from Flo Rida.
Yeah.
And I feel like if this song is like a delve down into the deepest depths of the psyche of whoever the narrator is, who's probably mostly me. When it gets to the bottom, that's when the whistle should happen, because you can't even get a guitar.
Well, this is happening, and then there's a band build-up again, and it's that kick drum that's coming in with the cool fills, and then something that happens here that just kind of lifts this second chorus. It starts out in the left speaker. There's a pick slide, and then there's a pick slide on the right speaker, and then boom.
Oh, yeah.
In this song, it almost felt like, and I've listened to it probably 30 times in the last day and a half, just over and over again. It's like, why a pick slide in this song? You know, in certain other songs, but it's funny. It doesn't seem like anywhere else in the song it would work, but here it works perfectly. And it sets up for chorus 2, which is the same as chorus 1. This sweet and sticky dream was nothing that I needed. Just demons to believe, poisons lined up to feed 'em. And the rings inside this tree are rotten deeper down. God damn this fucking town. It's restless and I'm drowning. And then we go into a part that only happens once in this song. It's an outro. I called it a post-chorus outro here. And I love this part. I love it because it is a departure, and it almost feels like there should be something after this, but you end the song with this. You don't end it on the chorus. There's no real chorus. I mean, what I'm calling the chorus happens twice, but this is a story, this whole song. There's not one part that's like, if anything, the verses are the main thing because they happen 3 times. But this part is, we are the lonely seeds, adrift on burning seas. And man, you do something here on seas. You go, seas, you hold out the E's at the end. And just the way that you sing it, it's just you have a really cool inflection there. Just pour the goddamn round and let's let these fuckers down.
Drown.
Excuse me, let these fuckers drown. That's a pretty depressing way to end the tune. I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing, is like, that's what I was kind of saying. It's like, even as dark as the song sounds in the beginning, it's like kind of like, oh, this is funny. Oh, it's kind of a joke. Oh, it's funny. Oh, this is not that funny. Oh, this is really not funny. And then like this part is like, sorry.
Yeah, and then right after you say drown, the band ends on this big A chord, and you think that's the end of it, and then it's this hit of the band all at once. It's the A chord to the B chord, and it ends on D flat. And it doesn't give you that root note of A again. It ends on D flat. It kind of leaves you kind of hanging on like that suspense chord. At the very end of this track, I noticed that there's like some street noise with almost like a Gregorian chant or something happening behind it. What is that?
Yeah. Well, that is the Lawrence Arms always constantly putting shit between the entire Metropole record is thematically designed to be like a tour through an anonymous city, and if you listen to the record from the beginning, you will hear street noise throughout the entire thing. Like a lot of it I recorded in Italy, like street musicians playing stuff, and some of it was me and Chris in Vegas walking around. And some of it is stuff that we constructed in the studio in order to complete the sort of like the landscape that we were trying to convey. The Gregorian chant, that's us.
It is
doing.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
The chant is us. The ambient noise is something from Vegas.
Cool.
It sounds so fucking lame to say this, but it's like the whole album is like really supposed to be taken in as one single piece of art, And I am just a dumb punk rock musician. So like calling what I do art is like pretty pretentious, presumptuous. But
I feel the same way when people refer to me as that. I don't know. I'm just some guy in a band. I can feel where you're coming from with that. But man, we're gonna wrap up here in a second. I just want to say that, like, again, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. This song is really cool. I've learned so much in the last year about songwriting. You know, when I was in my 20s, I thought I knew everything. When I got my 30s, I realized I did know everything. And now I realize I don't know shit. I'm trying to learn more and more and more about my craft, and just the imagery in this one, man, and just referencing the Titanic to the methadone clinic, to the YMCA, to, you know, Flo Rida, everything that you have going on here. For me to wrap my head around it's really cool. So I want to thank you for jumping on with us. And is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners right now? What you got going on with the band, your other projects, solo? What's going on?
I'm doing a solo tour through like sort of like most of the East and the South, actually. I'm fully vaccinated, and if you are too, then come on out, man. I would love to see you, and it's been too long. Just don't make fun of me for looking really like old and tubby. It's been a year and a half I've been sitting in my house, man.
You look great. I always tell my listeners, I see my guests on Zoom. I can see Brennan. He's not giving himself enough credit in the looks department. But where can people find those dates?
You know what? Redscare.net is the easiest place to find them. And man, I can't thank you enough. This has been really fun. And like, I can't believe that, man, you're fucking a legend and a hero to me, man. And like, you fucking pay attention to my songs. God damn it. Fuck you, man. That's cool.
And back at you, because I told you how I felt about you through the whole thing. I love you. You know that. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm going to check out your tour dates. If you're near me, I'm going to come see you.
If you don't, I'm going to come cough in your
You're going to send
sleep.
the old man with the saggy ass after me.
Yeah, that's right. That's me.
And it's you. All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
I don't think it overstates things to say that the Beatles were the greatest gift to entertainment and culture of our time, a secular religion, if you will, with their universal appeal and demonstrable impact on people's lives. I'm Robert Rodriguez, host of Something About the Beatles. With every episode, I speak with historians, musicians, artists, and Beatle witnesses, all in the service of fresh insights into the most joyous cultural entity the world has ever known. I hope you'll join me and listen to Something About the Beatles, now on Evergreen and wherever you get your podcasts.
Every listener to Too Much Effing Perspective knows that my co-host Alan Keller is a music nerd. And right up there in his pantheon with the Beatles and Elvis Costello is The Clash. So Alan, it's one thing for you to be a nerd, but how did you rope in a cool guy, 311's Nick Hexum, into a full-on Clash geek fest on our show?
Well, first of all, Alex, it was your idea.
Oh, right.
Second, Nick actually jammed with The Clash's Joe Strummer in a supergroup that included Flea and Tom Morello.
Okay, well, there is that.
And finally, one member of The Clash cited This Is Spinal Tap, the reason our show even exists, as his favorite movie.
Which one?
Hey, if you want to find out, you got to listen to Too Much Effing Perspective. That's Too Much EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.
Hey everyone, this is Tuck from Fit for a King, an off-road minivan. Every week I bring you fun interviews alongside your favorite metalcore entertainers with my new podcast, Get Tucked. Join me every Monday with bands like Counterparts, Crystal Lake, like Moths to Flames, and many more. We play unsigned and undiscovered bands, deep dive into each artist's history, and of course provide the greatest breakdowns in current metalcore. Tune in to Get Tucked every Monday, out now through Sound Talent Media.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
We're gonna be like
Get down!
The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
the rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard, PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Hello, Tom May here, host of Future Friday. I've spent the last 15 years on the road with my band, The Menzingers, where I've met all kinds of wild and fascinating people. So I started a podcast. On Future Friday, I talk to fellow musicians about the moments that made them, their passions outside of music, and the curiosities that tie us all together. I've also talked to the likes of UFO researchers, magicians, soldiers, and documentary filmmakers, and I'm constantly searching for folks that can shape and change our view of the world. You can check out Future Friday wherever you like.
Hey, this is Dewey Halpus, host of Peer Pleasure on the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Join me each week as I explore another long-form conversation with one of your favorite musicians, actors, comedians, or creatives. From Chino Moreno of the Deftones, John Gorley of Portugal the Man, to Fat Mike from NoFX and Ian MacKaye from Fugazi and Minor Threat, we go all over the map. From Fall Out Boy to Slayer, Peer Pleasure has it all. Check us out now on Sound Talent Media.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is submit your song via MP3 only and your bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured band is Tabernac, spelled Tabarnak. You can find all their music on the streaming services. Here's a snippet of their song, Hutve Pahit.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
So while we were recording this one and I was over here taking my notes while you and Brendan had your conversation, I probably laughed the entire time. I've never met the guy before, but he's super cool and personable. And just listening to you guys talk, it made me feel like I was friends with him. And I feel like a lot of people that listen to this episode are going to feel that same way because he's pretty hilarious.
He is too funny. He's always been that way. He's witty. He's incredibly smart. Not just book smart, but I guess street smart, whatever you want to call it. He's just he's got a good head in his shoulders. But man, he, like I said, back in the slapstick days when I first knew him, he's just this wiry punk rock kid. And I mean, he used to piss people off, and that's what initially attracted me to him. But there's been nights hanging out with that guy where I've been laughing so hard my stomach hurts. He's hilarious.
Yeah, I think there's something about artists that don't take themselves too seriously, which really endears me to them. I mean, you know, I think he is sort of self-deprecating and whatever, but you know that he does take the music seriously, even if he can joke about it in a conversation about a song.
I think he does. I also think that, and I'm going to try to delicately say this, you know, not to sound weird or it's in no way meant condescending, but I think there's some people that just... and he doesn't necessarily like the term. He said it himself. Their art is for them. Their music is for them. And, you know, to take it any further on a commercial level or be any bigger of a band than Lawrence Arms already is, I don't think that was ever what Brennan really wanted. I certainly think that they could have been more popular. Like Craig Aronson said, the guy was a star. There's something about him that's just... you know, that people gravitate towards him, but he's always kind of seemed like, you know, he's kind of wanted to be off the grid a little bit, which I respect too.
And that's to take nothing away from the fact that they are a popular band within the world of punk rock. It's just, we're talking about mainstream, the radio, among their peers. You're talking about Alkaline Trio and Rise Against, these bands which have achieved mainstream success. That's what you mean. But obviously within the punk rock world, I mean, you know, they're on Epitaph. They do well. People love them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was and thanks for saying that. It was by no means a knock. It was just, I don't think that Brendan gives himself enough credit is really what I was getting at, you know. And I tried to say that to him in the episode, but yeah, I it's funny when I was going over, I never thought that first line, I thought he was talking about himself, again, being self-deprecating, click on the link for the world's biggest dick. And then when he broke it down to just being, verbatim of what it is, it just, I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Well, that was one of my notes about this episode, man, is the first line of the song grabs you and it makes you pay attention. And there's something to that, whether it's, I don't care if it's a book, it's a TV show, first scene of a movie. When something grabs you like that and makes you pay attention, you're way more likely to pay attention to the rest of the song because you're hooked, And I think that's a good quality in a song.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we got further into the tune, just all the different references of what he was talking about. Like I said, my head doesn't work like that. And it's kind of like a songwriting exercise of where, one of these days I want to go, okay, I want to take 5 completely different experiences from one another, completely opposite of something that happened to me in London one time and something that happened in California and maybe this quote from a movie I like, and try to write a song. It's a really interesting way to approach songwriting.
Within the conversation about this one song, there were references made to Titanic, Banksy, Vertigo, what else?
Flo Rida,
Flo
the
Rida.
YMCA, the methadone clinic.
His dental, his teeth, everything you can imagine within one song. Yeah, you don't hear about that very often. Usually, like you said about your own personal songwriting, things are a little more linear.
Yeah, you come up with an idea for a song, you write about that experience. And I know not everybody writes like that. There's different things, but this song was really, and I don't say this in a bad light, it was just really all over the place with all the different references. It's just it's just crazy. But I also, there's sometimes I'll write things in my notes and or I'll think something to say and I go, I don't know if I want to say that. And I felt that I could, knowing Brennan so long. And he's like, wow. And he completely agreed when I said that, his voice has kind of like this southern drawl, like the thing to it. And I said, this song just reminds me of like a bar scene in a spaghetti Western. And he laughed and he got it because, I don't know. It's just got that thing, and the music in this one. Not that the parts aren't cool and the musicianship isn't cool. All the parts are, the pieces are there musically, but really this is all about the story and the imagery.
For sure, and it's interesting how within lyrics you can see how a person's brain works. You can get into their psyche, and I feel like this song's a real window into Brendan Kelly's brain.
Yeah. And he's always been that way. Like I said, he's always been, he's incredibly witty. I've always kind of prided myself on being quick-witted and in the moment and funny, but he outwits me. The guy's quick, and he's just He's got that it factor, something about Brennan. He's always had it. And something else I mentioned, Chris, is just I can't take away how important that Chicago scene is. How many bands, how much talent has come out of that. And I talked about it in the Dan Andorano episode. And again, I brought it up here. Just the amount of talent that came out of Slapstick. That band, those kids, and I'm calling them kids, referencing that time period, they don't know how good they were, man. That band was on fire.
It's crazy how many people from the same clique of friends now we've had on here. We've had 2 members of Alkaline Trio. We've had Tim from Rise Against. We've had Brendan. There might even be more. But yeah, it's crazy that all those guys not only are from the same city, but they're also within the same clique of friends. And like you brought up earlier in the episode, it's like a wealth of, a wealth of talent within that small little clique of people.
Yeah, and sometimes the best friends, and there's something that's always been down to earth about the Chicago punk scene that I like, and I said it earlier. What I love about someone like Brennan, I may not have talked to him in a year or 2 or 3 or seen them in person, and the minute we see each other or do talk, we pick right back up where we left off. It's awesome.
Yeah, you can tell that you guys are old buddies when you listen to this episode.
And speaking of buddies, I want to thank all our buddies here at Krista Makes a Podcast, each and every one of you that listens each week and that gives to each month's fundraiser. This month's fundraiser for July is Star Ovarian Cancer Foundation, and you can head over to KristaMakesADifference.com to find out all the info about that and how you can donate. Whatever you can give, we'd really appreciate it. It goes to a wonderful organization.
it's called ChrisDemakesADifference.com, but actually it is Chris DeMakes a podcast listeners make a difference.com. That domain name was just way too long to remember, though. When we say Chris DeMakes a difference.com, we mean everyone listening who chips in. And even $1 goes a long way. You know, we could have billions of dollars for each month's fundraiser. If everyone who listens, all our billions of listeners listen, we could raise $1 billion for each month's fundraiser.
We certainly could. And if we can't, we're going to die trying. I'll tell you that much, Chris.
Hell yeah.
But I am still writing these crazy, wacky custom songs for people. And Chris is going to play you a little snippet right now to show you what I do.
I can write you a ska song or maybe a punk song, a punk song. I want to write you a punk song, a punk song. I want to write you a mid-tempo rock song, something you can sing along or scream. I lost my job, my tractor died. My wife took off with another man. Guess who back with the postmodern rap? Chillin' with the homies, ain't taking no crap.
Actually, you don't want to hear me rap. Pick any other style. Trust me.
I could even write a ballad for your anniversary or your birthday.
Looking for a voiceover, jingle, or music for your business, podcast, or TV show? Well, look no further. I'm your guy.
I can write children's songs. I want to write your kids a song.
That's right. If you'd like your very own custom song, kind of like any of the styles you just heard with that wacky track, you can hit me up at chrisdemakes@gmail.com. I'd love to write you or that special someone a very own custom song of your own. Give me a follow on Instagram at LessThanChrisD. I'd appreciate it. And don't forget our supporting cast VIP program. You can find that at chrisdemakes.com. And you can find all kinds of goodies over there. We do the after party episodes, Chris and I, as well as we have a merchandise store with a killer pullover and a great t-shirt that are very comfortable. I can attest.
I love that you keep calling it a pullover, even though it's a zip-up.
Did I say pullover again?
Yeah, you did say pullover.
It's a zip-up. I hate pullovers. I don't even wear those dang things.
Yeah, it's annoying pulling that up over your head. Yeah, it's zip-up. It's zip-up, you know. So you can do that halfway where you just have it zipped open. So you're warm, but you're still letting a little air in, you know.
I'm gonna make you a promise, our listeners. We will never have a pullover. They will all be zip-ups. I will never say pullover again.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but if you supporting cast, chrisdemakes.com, you know the deal. It helps us out a lot, and you get extra episodes, and helps us continue making this podcast that you've grown to love.
That's right. And want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Brendan Kelly, a dear old crazy friend of mine from the Lawrence Arms, for sitting in with us, and we'll see you next week.
This is the story of Whitney Houston.
This is the story of Kurt Cobain.
Of George Michael, of Otis Redding, of Amy Winehouse, of Michael Hutchence, Bob Marley. This is the story of Prince.
It's a new podcast series
about how they died, why they died, and why we're still talking about them so long after.
It's like nothing you've ever heard before.
It's storytelling.
But it's more than that, because rock stars,
they tell us how we feel. They change our mood.
They change the clothes we wear, the people we hang out with,
the way we remember things.
It's them who give us those ludicrous moments, the ones where you're
jumping around, singing your heart out, feeling understood.
And it's those moments we'll help you remember, the ones you're thinking about right now.
That feeling.
That feeling.
It's coming soon from Crowd Network.
Just search for Death of a Rock Star on your podcast app.
And subscribe now.
Hey, what's up? This is Blake Weiland. I'm the host of the Tone Mob Podcast. It's a show where I interview guitar people about guitar stuff. We talk about their pedals, their amps, their accessories, their preferences, all that stuff, as well as a healthy dose of whatever comes up. Topics have ranged from aliens to addiction and anywhere in between. Oh yeah, and pizza. We're definitely going to be talking about pizza. So get the show wherever you're listening to this podcast at. Just search The Tone Mob in your search bar and it will pop right up. Come join us. We're having a lot of fun. Thanks for checking it out.